We've all heard that small business is the backbone to any economy, but here are some relevant statistics to back that point up. According to Forbes, small businesses have been responsible for adding approximately 12.9 million new jobs to the economy over the last 25 years. Though many small businesses are operated by a sole founder, they still have played an integral role in making sure that bills get paid across America. They've added approximately 13 million jobs over the last quarter century. For perspective, that's roughly 67% or two-thirds of the jobs added to the economy. And for Kevin Dunlap, he has a simple question to pose to all of you in the entrepreneurial atmosphere.
I worked on a small independent
Are you
film
getting the
that was called
most
Roses.
out of your
That was in
business?
Tallahassee, Florida, when I
Dunlap
was in graduate
says
school.
in order to excel,
And after
you
working
have
on
to
that
be
film,
willing
just basically
and
as a
eager
a
to push
production
yourself
assistant,
out
I
of
realized I
your
really wanted to
comfort
work in film.
zone.
However,
Dunlap
I had
has
no desire
been
to be an
an
actor, and I had no
entrepreneur
desire to
for
be
more
a
than
production
2
staff. I did not want to
decades
be on the crew of the
now.
film.
He's a
So I
self-published
decided that
author
for me to do
of
something
4
different, I wanted
books
to get into
and
doing
the
stunt
former
work. And
podcast
that really
host
got me into
of
pushing my comfort
Life's
zone.
Little Lessons,
I
where
remember
he
sitting in a
interviewed
restaurant in
entrepreneurs
Tallahassee, and I was
from
thinking, like,
around
how
the
can I know if I can do
globe.
stunts
He became
when
an
I have no official
entrepreneur
training?
in
So the following weekend, I started
1999
going
after
skydiving.
being
Now that's
downsized
pushing my comfort
after
zone a little
working
bit
for
by jumping out of an
corporate
airplane.
America.
And,
This is
and that led
precisely
me to
when
learning all
he
kinds of different
discovered
things
that there's no job security
about doing
if you
stunts.
work
And
for
that's where I
someone
really started learning
else.
for my own
This is
personal self
when
about
he
I
discovered
want something
his
different. I have to do
entrepreneurial
something
bug
different.
and
This is before I
interest
took any
in
personal growth
business
classes. This is
when
before I
he
was
found
actually even
himself
officially trained in how to do
gravitating
stunt work. But I
towards
just learned
a
that if I
network
really want to
marketing
grow, if I really
company
want to do
which
something
sold
different,
air
I
and
have
water
to do things
filters,
that are going to make me
along
feel
with
entrepreneurship skills
homeopathic
came from when I was in real
products.
estate, and that was
And
essentially from
Dunlap
2004
hasn't
to
looked back
2020.
ever
And I was just
since.
building my real estate
And
business.
he
In
joined me this
2004,
week
I was
to
a real estate
detail
consultant,
his
and I worked
entrepreneurial
with
journey
a lot of
in
investors
greater
doing
detail
something known as a
and
lease option,
how
where you
other
also seller
entrepreneurs
financing.
can push
However,
themselves
when
out
I
of their
was
comfort zone
doing that,
in
I was
order to
bringing people that
achieve
had trouble with credit
ultimate
into getting into my house.
success.
And,
I'm
and
Kevin McShann. Let's have this conversation. I began my conversation with Dunlap by asking him precisely what does it mean to push yourself outside of your comfort zone in business in order to achieve success.
I learned a long time ago that back in the I guess it was the early 2000s or even the late 90s. I one of the things I worked on a small independent film that was called Roses, and this was in Tallahassee, Florida, when I was in graduate school. And after working on that film, as you know, just basically as a production assistant, I realized I really wanted to work in film. However, I had no desire to be an actor, and I had no desire to be a production staff. I did not want to be on the crew of the film. So I decided that for me to do something different, I wanted to get into doing stunt work. And that really got me into pushing my comfort zone. I remember sitting in a restaurant in Tallahassee, and I was thinking, like, how can I know if I can do stunts when I have no official training? So the following weekend, I started going skydiving. Like, now that's pushing my comfort zone a little bit, by jumping out of an airplane. And that led me to learning all kinds of different things about doing stunts. And that's where I really started learning for my own personal self about if I want something different, I have to do something different. And this before I took any personal growth classes. This is before I was actually even officially trained to do stunt work. But I just learned that if I really want to grow, if I really want to do something different, I have to do things that are going to make me feel uncomfortable.
Yeah, absolutely. And Kevin, I know that you've been in entrepreneurship for just about over 2 decades now. So I'm wondering, as sort of the business climate evolves, tell me how important is it for entrepreneurs to be nimble in their approach as conditions change within the market?
The thing was, I was in a lot of my entrepreneurship skills came from when I was in real estate, and that was essentially from 2004 to 2020. And I was just building my real estate business in 2004. I was mainly a real estate consultant, and I worked with a lot of investors doing something known as a lease option, or you can also seller financing. However, when I was doing that, I was with people that had troubled credit into getting into a house. And the only way an investor would work with somebody in those regards would be that they were depending upon the house to appreciate. Now, in 2007, 2008, as some of your listeners may remember, that's when we had the housing crunch. That's when everything went down all across the United States and probably even across the world. And so, how do I keep doing this real estate consultation business while the market is actually, you buy a house today, and in 6 months from now, it's going to be worth less than what you paid for today because all the houses were dropping for several years, for 4 years. So you have to be able to adapt. You have to be, as you were calling it, nimble. You have to be able to change your marketing plan. You have to change your business or around whenever anything challenging comes up. And if you do not do that, then you're just going to go out of business. So you have to be able to adapt to current market fluctuations. As another example, at the time of this recording, artificial intelligence is becoming more and more prevalent. And if you're not nimble or start accepting these new strategies, then you're going to fall by the wayside. So you have to be constantly looking at how can you adapt to the current market conditions, regardless of what your industry is.
Yeah, absolutely. And Kevin, let's shift now to talk about market risk and assessment in terms of taking risk in business and getting a profitable return on investment. What sort of markers or indicators do you think people should use when assessing whether taking a risk is a good decision for a business?
We always have to do your look at your return on your investments. It's known as your ROI. And as you're looking to do something different, you do have to test. You have to you could do this as what could happen or what is happening. So whenever you're looking to do something different, you have to see, is it going to help or is it not? You may find out that doing something different actually causes you more harm, and then you just know to scrap that idea or to adapt that idea to do something different. So yes, you have to go online, you do your market research, you test, look at what other companies are doing, what other people are doing in your industry, and see if that's going to work or not.
Yeah, and Kevin, I know that you're a self-published author of 4 books. As I mentioned at the top of our discussion, you've been in entrepreneurship for over 2 decades now, and you used to host a podcast where you got to interview some of the leading voices in business. So I'm curious, Kevin, if you can tell me what has been some of the greatest lessons that you've learned through business and conversation as well.
Well, some of the great things that I learned, and you mentioned my podcast. Yes, in 2016, I started a podcast called Life's Little Lessons, and that was to promote my second book. That podcast was just me talking into the microphone, and I learned from there that I was extremely inconsistent. So, if one thing is if you're going to that I learned, if you're trying to grow your business, whatever it is that you're doing, you have to be consistent. You have to. If people know that you're going to be writing a blog and it's going to come out at Tuesday at 10 a.m., then make sure you always have that blog coming out at Tuesday at 10 a.m. So, yeah, the one thing I learned was consistency. When I did my podcast, the second season in 2017 and 18, that's when I switched it over to like what you're doing, Kevin, by doing an interview-based podcast. And what I learned from that, especially when I decided to start interviewing other entrepreneurs from other countries and other cultures, one of the things I really realized was just how the same that we all are. It doesn't matter if you grew up in America, grew up in Vietnam, grew up in Russia, grew up in Australia. We all have the same challenges, and we all have the same obstacles that come our way. So I learned that we are all the same in many regards. We have more similarities than we have differences, in my opinion. And so therefore, one of the things I learned from that is regardless of the culture that you're from, we can still all learn from each other. And that to me is something that was huge, that I learned from my own personal experiences, listening to other people, especially from other cultures.
Absolutely. Kevin, you talk about learning in business, and I think one of the biggest lessons that any entrepreneur or business professional can learn is infusing folks with disabilities into the workforce and into the business community specifically. Kevin, I was born with cerebral palsy. I've dealt with that through the duration of my life, and outside of hosting this podcast, I help business owners and organizations become more inclusive with minimal effort. So tell me about the competitive advantage you think infusing folks with disabilities can have on the business community at large.
People with disabilities are really no different than the person that does not have any disabilities or not any apparent disabilities. And I believe that people with disabilities still bring in a unique flavor to a business, because our lives are what makes us up for who we are from our past experiences. So a person with a disability has their own experiences that people that without those disabilities do not know about, they don't understand. But the thing is, as long as they can respect that, I believe that someone with a disability or somebody, regardless of their gender, their race, or even whatever gender they identify with, everybody can bring something unique and beneficial to the table, regardless.
Yeah, absolutely. And Kevin, tell me, how do you think business owners can be more efficient, operate their business more effectively to get some of their time back as well? I'm curious to get your thoughts there.
Well, my thing is make sure that you are being deliberate when you're working your day-to-day activities. Have things on your calendar, and one of the thing is, and I teach this a lot to new entrepreneurs. I ask them, is what is your hourly rate worth? What is your ideal rate that you're going to be that you feel that you are worth? Let's say you're just starting out, and maybe you say, well, my time is worth $25 an hour. You go, fantastic. That's a good number. The thing is, why are you when you're starting doing work that you could pay somebody else to do that's under $25 an hour, then you should no longer be doing those activities. So you need to learn how to delegate, eliminate, and also automate your business. That way you can be more effective in your time, and therefore then you can be more productive with the hours that you currently have.
Yeah, absolutely. And Kevin, I know you started your business career after working in corporate America. So tell me about certainly the switch in terms of the responsibilities that come from running your own business. Because I know from the pandemic, a lot of people wanted to shift from working a traditional 9 to 5 to sort of being their own boss. But there has to be a strategic plan if you want to make that career pivot, doesn't it?
Well, yes. I would never tell anybody to quit their job to go and start their own business. First thing I would say is, do it as a side hustle, do it as a side job. That way, you still have your income coming in from your 9 to 5 job, and then once your income from your side job equals to or exceeds your regular job, then you can make the decision to either do you want to quit the job, cut back, or whatever. So the thing is, you want to be strategic whenever you started that business. I'm assuming that's the question that you were asking.
Yeah, absolutely. And Kevin, I know that you have a business goal of helping people sort of multiply their income and be more sort of judicious with the way they operate their business. So tell me about your mission as an entrepreneur to help others sort of achieve success. How do you want to help them do that?
Well, I want people to actually run a business that number one, that they're passionate about and that they're happy with, and also that will exceed whatever income goals that they currently have. So my job as a business coach, as a business strategist, is how do I double or even possibly even help you triple your income? Like you're talking about, like some of my business goals. One of my current business goal, and this is just a more of a shorter term goal, is to help businesses, 100 businesses to get to the level of being a 6-figure income. So that is one of my goals, and the only way that we can do that is to start showing businesses how they can start doing something different by pushing their comfort zone in order to excel in business and to bring in that kind of income.
Tell me, Kevin, how do you think people can use personal life experiences to succeed in business?
One thing is, I'm doing that myself because as you may or may not know, I have a very varied background. So my background included being a college math teacher. I was in the U.S. Navy, so I traveled the world. I did some stunt work for a few years. So I'm using all of those skills as part of my business. For an example, if I'm talking about, okay, you need to start speaking from stage, or if I have to start doing more talks in front of the room, I use my skills from being a college math teacher for those few years. That way, I'm now using those life skills in my business. When I am doing something that I might be afraid, I go back to my stunt days and say, okay, how can, if I was going to be doing a scary stunt, how can I actually do that stunt without too much fear? So the thing is, when you're running your businesses, look at your past life experiences. What can those different areas of your life that you can bring to the table? For an example, maybe you were married or something like that. Maybe negotiation could be good for you. No, so what other skills that you have that you can tweak a little bit, and then you can start using those in your business?
Yeah, absolutely. And, Kevin, I'm always a believer that, we have to prioritize the things in life and our career that are important to us. So tell me about your method of creating business priorities and how you go about that.
With the priorities, one of the things I do is because when you're running a business, there's so many different hats that you're going to be wearing. Is from a logistics perspective, when I have something that I need to get done, I will actually put it on my calendar. And these are going to be like, I need to reserve 1 hour to do this or 1 hour to do that. And typically, what I would do is not only do I put it on my calendar, I also color code it. So I know, so either it's going to be whatever hat that's wearing, or it's going to be a priority. Now, I will say that on this, when you have big goals and little goals, you have to look at it as number one, what needs to get done, regardless if it's a big task or a little task. I'm not the person that's going to say fill your day up with completing a whole bunch of little tasks and ignore the big ones. You have to prioritize as to what is the most important. It's going to be like, for an example, what is the most important to you in your business, or the most important things you must get done for a client, or what have you, and work on those first. Now, as an entrepreneur, we cannot be thinking of this as a 9 to 5 job. Most entrepreneurs are going to be putting in more than 40 hours in a week. They may work more than 5 days a week. So you may have to put in those extra hours. Maybe you're putting in 8 or 10 or 12 hours in one day, and just to get those jobs done, but get those most important ones done first.
Yeah, absolutely. And Kevin, tell me, how do you think would define uh, business courage and taking ownership of your own business? How do you think you would define that?
Business courage comes from previous successes. So once you are achieving some goals and you're accomplishing some results, then your courage will increase. So it's just going to be, in my opinion, business courage comes from your previous successes.
Absolutely. And Kevin, what do you think makes a great business leader?
A good business leader, in my opinion, should also be a good follower. They don't always have to be the one in front of the room. They don't have to be always the one leading. They can lead by example, and they also teach others how to be leaders as well. And they can know when to step back and let other people lead.
Yeah, and tell me, how important is it to be a great listener in business?
It's 100% important. There's always saying you've got 2 ears and one mouth, and use those respectively. So you must always be listening to others. And when I say be listening, I mean you're not going to be. You want them to listen to what is known as you're listening with them. So you're not going to be listening with agreement. You're not doing the listening with disagreement. You're actually just being there listening.
Yeah, absolutely. And Kevin, for any new entrepreneur, I'm wondering if you have sort of a roadmap or sort of a yellow brick road you think all entrepreneurs should follow, or questions that should ask themselves before starting a new business.
Well, the question they should ask before starting a new business is, number one, am I passionate about it? Can I do this for the next 10, 15, 20 years of my life? Secondly, do your market research and to see if the business that you're wanting to start is actually going to be a viable business. Is there a demand for what you do? If you do something that's very, very unique and there's really no demand for it, then that's not going to be a good business. So you always got to look at from the very beginning, who are you going to want to work with? Is there a viable business? Can I make money at this? And then start building the steps that you need to go through to take it from point A to point B, C, or D. So at least have that in your mind. Now, another thing I would strongly suggest, especially with new entrepreneurs, is to actually go and talk to other people that have some experience. This could mean going to the SBA and talking to somebody in a program known as SCORE, which is, those are other entrepreneurs that have been somewhat successful, and they want to give back to community. So they make sure that you start talking to somebody that's been in business. If you have the funds available, then find yourself a mentor or a business coach, because that coach is going to help you get through those initial steps that you may be spinning your wheels for months and months or years. And if you invest a few hundred or a couple of $1,000s, get that advice from that coach so they can help you get past those initial hurdles.
Yeah, absolutely. And Kevin, I went to school and majored in communications, and I think communications is sort of the vital heartbeat to business. So tell me about refining your communication message as a business owner and how important that is.
Well, yes, communication is very important. I would say, start seeing by speaking from stage and joining a local Toastmaster, so you can start getting your skills down, your communication skills down, because that's going to be very, very important later on. Even if you're not going to be on stage, that will give you important and confidence so that you can use later on in other areas of your business.
Yeah, absolutely. And Kevin, I'm also curious to ask you about the concept of business commitment and how important it is for entrepreneurs to really assess whether they want to be committed to the business that they've started. So talk to me about the importance of business commitment and how you view that as well.
Well, as an entrepreneur, as a true entrepreneur, your business commitment has to be total. I mean, it's like in marriage in many ways. Yeah, when you are running that business, if you're going to just be lackluster and not doing anything, then you should not be in business, or at least not as your main income. So yes, you must absolutely must be committed to your business, because it is, again, much like either having a marriage or having a child. It is something that you have created, and you have to be totally 100% on board if you're going to build anything successful.
Yeah, absolutely. And Kevin, I'm also curious to know. I know you're coming to me from Raleigh this morning, but I'm also curious to know when you're not working on businesses or helping clients. Tell me, how do you feel your own personal cup of fulfillment? Because I think it's important for some self-care as an entrepreneur, isn't it? So tell me, how do you feel your own personal level of fulfillment?
Well, you have to reward yourself for all of your hard work. So whatever it is that you enjoy doing, when you have that time, go there and enjoy doing it. Me personally, if I'm staying here locally in the Raleigh area, because I only moved here about a year ago, I like to go kayaking. I love taking my boat out, going out of the water. If it's not too windy, not too cold, I'd love going out there. When I lived in Las Vegas, which I lived there for almost 2 decades, one of the things I would do during the summer and spring is I would meet with other people and go sailing. And to me, that was just being out in the water, under the sails. It was just so invigorating. It was very relaxing and very invigorating.
Yeah, absolutely.
Personally, I also love to go on road trips. In 2021, I ended up buying a car in Northwest Florida. I was living in Las Vegas at the time, and I ended up going on a 54-day road trip where I was just going from city to, and I saw 14 states in that process. So when I have that available time, I love going out and seeing new places. So that's what one of the things that does reinvigorate me.
Yeah, and Kevin, I'm fascinated, my friend. Tell me about the change of pace of life from Las Vegas to Raleigh, because I know it's probably a different pace of life in Carolina than it was in Las Vegas, huh?
Very much so. Well, Las Vegas, as most people may know, it's in the middle of the desert, just like Phoenix. Because of that being in the desert, it's a very brown city, and our yards there were made of rock. So it wasn't like being here in North Carolina, which is a very green city, a very green state. So just being around the green, going out for hikes, and just being out in the wilderness is something that is phenomenal. It's one of the things I love about this area.
Yeah, absolutely. And Kevin, my final question for you this morning has to do with your own personal and professional legacy and how you want that to be defined.
Well, I'm still building my legacy through my company, which is called Optimal Performance Academy. So I'm building my school. I'm building my school for entrepreneurs. So my ideal thing is to have hundreds, if not thousands, of people going to this school and building that. Now, as far as who am I going to leave it to, I'm not sure yet, because I at the time of this recording, I'm not. Married to anyone, and I have no children. So what am I going to leave behind? I do not know. However, if or when I do just kick the bucket, hopefully the academy could still stay alive, and then just keep training and educating more and more people.
Yeah, since you brought up your academy, Kevin, I'll just follow up very quickly with this. Tell me about the importance of business education and really how education and business can really help you optimize the potential of your business.
Well, when you're an entrepreneur, you have to be constantly educating yourself. The thing is, if you don't, if you don't keep educating yourself, you're going to just you, you just won't be as successful as you could be. So to me, if you're not, even if you're not coming to my academy, go to seminars, read books, follow other people, and just constantly be educating yourself, because that's how you're going to grow. Plus, as new technology changes, you will still need to have that. Now, for an example, when I lived in Las Vegas, I was also a realtor. But one of the things that we had to do as realtors is every year we had to do was what is known as CE, or continual education. You will see the same thing with doctors. You see the same thing with people that are Microsoft certified programmers. Everybody is always continuing to educate themselves. So follow the examples of these other professions, and incorporate that into your business as well.
Yeah, absolutely, Kevin. Life is a constant game of learning, isn't it?
Yes, life is constantly transforming, or yes, it's constantly evolving. Yes, I would agree with that.
Absolutely. And finally, Kevin, tell me if people want to get connected with you, my friend, what's the best way they can do that?
The best way is to actually schedule a time with me, and that's actually fairly easy. If you go to our website, the optimalperformanceacademy.org, there you can type that into the URL, do a /strategy, or if you go to the website, you also see how they can schedule a free complimentary 60-minute strategy call. We will sit down and talk with you about your business.
Fantastic. Well, Kevin, I want to thank you for helping me in the week talking about business education, business diversification, and so much more. My friend, your work in the space and time on my behalf is most appreciated, and I want to thank you for being here today.
Well, Kevin, it was great talking with you, and I look forward to hearing from some of your listeners.